Hi everyone, it's Jess here from Just Be Birthing. I wanted to come on today because I experienced something a little while ago that was so incredible, and I really felt that I wanted to share it with you all because it was how one of the techniques that I teach in hypnobirthing was used for something completely different, and just goes to show how these amazing techniques can be used in all areas of life, not just for labour and birth, although they are specific for that. So I was at work a little while ago and a woman came in to have her bloods taken with her husband. And now some women, a lot of people don't like having their bloods taken and you can feel a little bit faint, but this woman actually had a phobia. And my colleague and I didn't realise how bad this phobia was until we went into the room with her. And she started shaking and jumping on the bed and sort of pulling her legs up and, really becoming incredibly distressed. And her husband didn't know what to do, and he was really becoming upset himself, watching her not being able to help. And she said to me, the only way you're going to get this blood out is if you actually hold me down, hold my arm down. Now, as a midwife, we take consent very seriously, and as a human being, as a woman, I don't want to hold anyone down to forcibly remove something from them, especially their blood. So I discussed this with her and said, look, we really can't do that for you. Is there another way we can think about this? And we talked a little bit about her issues around blood. And I then just said to her, tell me about your scan that you've just had, because she'd just been downstairs for her main scan. And I said, tell me about your scan. And she sort of said, what do you mean? I said, well, tell me what you saw. What was the experience like? And the second I said that, her whole demeanour changed. Her body language softened, her all attention around her face disappeared, her husband smiled, and she said, oh, it was amazing. I saw my baby kicking its legs and waving at the camera, and she was so happy. So I said, look, let's discuss and move forward thinking about that instead of the fear. And she said, oh, I can't do that because the minute you touch my arm, I know it's going to happen. Now, our subconscious is very clever and it looks after us, and phobias live in our subconscious because through life experiences, and our subconscious has taken snapshots of things and stored them as images. Now, our subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't. That's where our conscious, rational brain comes into play. So the subconscious is always going to protect us. It's our flight or fight response, essentially. And I don't know if you've read The Chimp Paradox, that's another really interesting book all around our subconscious and how we can control that. So what we say to our subconscious is, I know that you're trying to protect me and I thank you for that, but actually I don't need that right now because I am safe and I am in control. And then we're going to focus on this wonderful image of your baby kicking its legs. And she sort of said, well, I'm not sure if I can do that. And I said, okay, well, let's just practice. And we kind of moved forward. So she would practice doing this little technique and I would just put my hand on her arm, and then she would practice, I wouldn't do anything else. And then sort of we slowly worked our way up to my colleague putting the tourniquet around her arm, and eventually, with her just telling me about the scan and her sort of directing all of her joy at me, my colleague was able to take her blood, and she hardly felt it because my colleague is such a great blood taker. And it was incredible. And her husband, when it was finished, went, oh, is that done? And her husband looked at me and he said, that has never ever happened in all the time I've known her. We've always had to use drugs or use some other way of getting blood out of her. So I was obviously thrilled that I could help her, and I just thought it was such a great story to tell you about how these techniques can be used in all parts of life, not just for birth and labour. Obviously that's what they're designed for, and that's where they're used the best, but these techniques can be used anywhere. So she will now take that forward with her and use it hopefully in other parts of her life. And I was just so happy with that. So there you go, one of the joys of the hypnobirthing techniques. Thanks, bye.